Hi, so I'm just planting some seeds in pots in my greenhouse here, and it's January, the beginning of January. I say that because it's kind of crazy. What I'm putting in pots here right now is tomato seedlings, or tomato seeds. 2 months at least before you'd want to plant them out. It's going to be cold in my greenhouse for January and February, and the tomatoes, the seedlings will grow twice as slow in this cold greenhouse. I don't want to try to germinate them in the cold greenhouse. I figure that might take too long, and it'd be very frustrating because the seeds could just sit there for weeks if they're too cold, and you think they've gone rotten and they're not ever going to germinate, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to put them under heat for germination purposes, and I'm going to show you my germination station. Is kind of unique, which I think you'll be interested in seeing in just a minute. For my potting mix, it's just half homemade compost and half organic topsoil that I've purchased. And one note on filling up the pots that I realized is you don't want to over cram the pots. You just gently pack it in there like that, stamp it in there, and then come through and put in a second layer to fill them up. If you cram them too tight, it seems that can negatively impact the seedlings. I actually made a video on that as well, which I'll put a link to in the description. I wanted to show you this funny little thing that I'm doing for putting the seeds on here. At first I tried a gloved finger, but it's too blunt, I guess. Well, yeah, it's a little bit too blunt, and it makes these indentations in the soil a little bit too broad. So I went with a different object, which is maybe a tiny bit more pointed, this jumbo Sharpie marker, just to make some indentations on the soil. And I've been making 3 per pot, just 3 indentations on the soil. Well, try to make them in a little 2 eyes and a mouth kind of orientation. Alright, I got all the indentations. Now next I'm going to be using these Amish paste tomato seeds. They were actually dated as germination tests on February of 2023, so they're like at least a year old. I'm a little bit disappointed about that. I was hoping for seeds that were more recent than that, but I guess they were stored properly and they should have a high germination rate, I assume. Otherwise, I assume that this company wouldn't have Southern Exposure Seed, which is where I usually get my seeds from. They wouldn't have sent them to me if they didn't know that these are going to still have a very high germination rate. That's what I'm banking on for now. And so I get the seeds, and I just put 1 in per indentation, 1 seed. If I wanted to, I could prick one out, an extra seedling out, and put it into a new pot. Tomato seedlings, again, under the assumption that after they germinate, they will grow very slowly, hopefully about twice as slow as usual, so that they won't be too big and difficult to deal with in the greenhouse before I'm ready to sell them or plant them out in my own garden. So that's 48 seeds per tray, and I'm a little surprised also that that practically uses up an entire pack here, which is 0.16 grams, an entire seed pack, barely more than 48 seeds. And then after, I just take and sprinkle some of this potting mix over the pots, and they are practically done. Of course, I still water them in before I put them into my heated germination station. I'll just water it in real quick. And this potting mix is already pretty saturated, so I don't need to add much water, just enough to ensure that those seeds get soaked right away. And now let me show you where the seed germinating station is. It's right out here. Open up this greenhouse door. Alright, now if you want to see how I made this greenhouse door, you have to check out another link that I'll put in the descriptions It's a pretty convenient door, and it's pretty convenient how I set up my greenhouse in general, so check that link out for my general greenhouse build video that I've done not too long ago. Alright, so here it is, my germination station. It may be ugly with the rust and all, but it seems to work great. It's an old refrigerator, obviously. It's just have an insulated container that I can very easily keep warm, even through a very, very major freeze, for our climate at least, as it's already been through. It went down to the low 20s one night that I measured outside, and then inside my little germination station. I'm going to show you how I heat it in just a second, but inside of there it stayed above 50, so solid 30 degrees warmer, and that was through the middle of the coldest part of the frigid night. Well, first let me put in the tray of tomatoes. I got them labeled here, AP Amish Paste Tomato, and this is the 3rd of January. So I'm opening it up here, and I got some miscellaneous junk in here already, and I have one tray of seeds in here already, and this one's going in. Easily you can see that. Alright, let's look and see a little better now in here. There we go. So here's the Amish paste that I just now put in the seeds in the pot. Got that marker, and so this down here, there we go. This one, you can see the cord running to it. That's just a simple seed tray heating mat. That's the only heat I have in here to keep it warm. And since this one's been on the heat mat, and it's going to be on there for at least 24 hours, I'm going to put a separate second tab. Because you see, right on the heat mat, the temperature of that soil may be 70 degrees straight through an outside freeze, whereas in the rest of the refrigerator compartment, the temperature may get down to 50 degrees, or who knows. But that's what I measured in the past, is that the air temperature inside that compartment stayed around 50 degrees through a freeze one night. So anyhow, it seems like it was enough to heat the entire compartment on the refrigerator side. And I checked it, but I haven't monitored it through a whole night. The freezer compartment, is connected airway to the refrigerator compartment. Even though it's not a big opening, there is a connection between the two, and so the freezer compartment also stayed warm through the night, though I'm not sure how warm. It'll also be an option for storing more germinating seeds. So that's the system. Be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.